Hello everyone, welcome back to over here on Cricket Insider, and today's video is I'll be ranking every 2022 new release I've seen. It is mid-year, so I think it's time putting the films I've seen from this year. I have 11 movies on this list, 3 of which I didn't review on this channel because 2 movies on this list I waited for on demand to see, and I typically only review films I see in theaters, and then 1 was a Netflix original film on this list, so yeah. Well, let's do our video. And in 11th place, I hate to say this, but we have Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. Now I was being a bit nice on this one in my review, but this was just not one of the weakest Marvel films for sure. It did have good elements where it did work, like it was actually pretty stunning visually, but with that being said, story-wise, structure-wise, it just didn't work. John Krasinski probably isn't even coming back in the Fantastic Four to play Reed Richards, so what was the point in his cameo? And this movie should have had a longer runtime too, because it felt too fast-paced, and overall this was just in my eyes a pretty disappointing movie. Glad Marvel did something unique, but they're not giving great directors. Like, this is why the weakest films come from great directors. Like, this was by Sam Raimi. The Eternals was by Chloe Zhao. Marvel does not give them enough creative freedom, which is why Scott Derrickson left Marvel. So in 11th place, we have Multiverse of Madness. 10th place, The Black Phone. I watched this on demand the other day, and it's just a very bland film. Not really a bad film, it's just really bland. I mean, this really wasn't really on my radar, but I've been hearing all about it, so that I was like, alright, may as well check this one out. And personally, I don't get the hype. Like, this film for the last month has been like on my TikTok page a lot, and I just don't get the hype. This is just a very mediocre movie. It isn't that scary. It has its creepy moments, but I mean, this movie does not stand out compared to any other modern horror movie. These movies need to be a great film. It doesn't only need to be a great film, of course, but it also needs to stand out. So in 10th place, you have The Black Phone. 9th place, Thor: Love and Thunder. Now this one I can say I enjoyed it. Wasn't one of the worst MCU, and definitely bottom 10 MCU for me, but not like the worst. Like it was better than like Multiverse of Madness, Iron Man 3. It wasn't like For the Darker. It wasn't like that well, but it was on the weaker side for sure. I mean, like I said, the story elements really worked. Thor's and Jane's story definitely worked this week. I can give them credit for that. Gore he could have been better, but I mean, he could have been, his storyline as the villain was pretty generic, but with that being said, it's still, he wasn't the best written character of all villains, but the story arcs were great. But that being said, the humor just didn't work. I mean, basically just think about all the, like, I'm not a big fan of a lot of the MCU humor. I can admit that. It feels very, some of it's funny, but a lot of it just doesn't work. But this movie, it was that the whole way through. It was just constantly corny jokes, and just if they didn't have that, this movie would be a lot better. So 9th place we have Thor Love and Thunder. 8th place, another one I didn't review because I didn't watch it till it's on demand home video release, but that was The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent. On this one, my parents saw in theaters, and they absolutely loved it, so they showed me this movie, and overall, I mean, I'm not huge on this kind of movie, but I thought it was decent. There were this movie had its funny moments for sure. The cage references is what's really gonna get people. The character direction was really great, but that being said, some of this buddy comedy-like humor just felt like a waste. I mean, a lot of it was a lot of the characters were, a lot of like the references and characters were really well written. A lot of the movie references were very funny. It's just the buddy comedy stuff that didn't work. I mean, it felt very corny. Some of the humor it was just typical buddy comedy humor that just felt cheesy and didn't really work. So overall, The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent, it was a decent time. But felt a little ridiculous at times. So yeah, 7th place, The Northman. This one's interesting because I haven't seen The Witch yet, but I've seen this in The Lighthouse. I definitely prefer The Lighthouse. Overall, I enjoyed this movie. The cinematography was fantastic. I can say that. And Eggers' direction, fight scenes, everything was great as always. So this was a visually great movie. Storyline wise, it was pretty good. The only problem was it didn't feel like I was watching a Viking movie the whole way. Like I enjoyed the journey. It's just that it didn't feel like a full-on Viking film, which you're here to watch a Viking film, but this movie did not feel like a Viking film. I mean, I'm glad they didn't go too full now because this is meant to be an art house film, but yet again, because it's a Viking film, they could have gone a bit bigger on the scale. So yeah, so in 7th place, we have The Northman. 6th place is Elvis. First off, this was a very cool theatrical experience. The performances are what stood out. Tom Hanks being such an unlikable character was really interesting to see. Austin Butler, he was a fantastic Elvis. Costume design, everything was great, but the runtime, I had no problem with the runtime. Didn't drag at all. But with that being said, this movie needed to fun, and also they really took Elvis's life into detail so well. Like, you can only pick so much from Elvis's life. I personally thought we got to know a lot about Elvis. So on a production note, this was a fantastic film, but the pacing was not great. It felt kind of messy, too fast-paced, and we were like, this needs to be structured well. But no, it was just very fast-paced. I mean, some of the most they feel like you're like an Elvis concert, which was a cool moment. Why the theatrical experience worked really well for this movie. But with that being said, it just felt way too, could have spaced it out a little more. So yeah, so anyway, in 5th place we have The Batman. Now, I obviously really like this movie. Not a very rewatchable movie though, which is why it's in 5th, but that being said, this is still a fantastic movie. Like the direction they went with, like love the psychological thriller stuff they do with both Joker and then this. This was just a great. This was just a great Bruce Wayne tale in general, and a great start to hopefully franchise. They nailed it with the performances, the cinematography as well. I mean, did drag a little bit with the pacing, but there really isn't a lot bad to say about this one, which is good. Is it the greatest comic book movie of all time? No. By some people, this film is a bit overhyped. Definitely isn't the #1 comic book movie ever made. That would for me go to maybe Spider-Verse. Logan's up there too, just because of its great storytelling, but I'm even debating if this is even top 10 comic book of all time, but I'm definitely at least like top 15, or definitely top 15 greatest comic book of all time for me. So yeah, so in 4th place we have No. Now, No, this is, some people probably didn't see us because they didn't like Us. I was kind of mixed on Us too, but No was, this movie show that Jordan Peele's style is fantastic. His direction in this movie was great. There was an end twist that, the twist at the end felt kind of generic, but other than that, this movie was also fun too. Like, it was fun to watch, it was rewatchable, but this is a fun experience movie too, and overall, this was just a great film. And yeah, 3rd place movie, some you may not have heard, the Netflix original film Apollo 10½. This is a movie directed by Richard Linklater. It's basically about a boy growing up in the time where the first man landed on the moon, and this is by the director of Boyhood, so it took the growing up theme very well, and this is good animation. It didn't really have some people were like, oh, this movie didn't really have a plot to it. That's kind of the point. It was just animation was incredible, and this is just a simple story about a boy and his friends growing up in the 1960s during the time of the first landing on the moon. And I didn't grow up in that time, but for older audiences, I'm sure it's very nostalgic. It's a personal story too, and if you like that type of movie, like art house, like anime films, definitely watch this one. So yeah, so in 2nd place, we have Top Gun Maverick. This really caught me by surprise. I liked the first Top Gun. It wasn't like best of all time, but the first Top Gun, definitely a very fun film. But this movie, this was the definition of a perfect sequel for sure. Story-wise, visually-wise, just everything. It was a perfect sequel. This movie wrapped up the character's story very well, especially that ending was very satisfying emotionally, especially for people who grew up with and watched the first Top Gun. This is how you do a legacy sequel, not just feeding off cameos every 2 seconds and making a great send-off to these characters. The flight scenes were very cool to watch, and this is just the feel-good summer movie of the year. It's made it so great. A few minor issues. Plot did drag a little bit with the romance subplots, and overall, still a phenomenal movie. And 4th place, you all know Everything Everywhere All at Once. We watched this the other day, actually, and this movie was just so unique. Like, you don't get much films like this anymore, but this film looked incredible. You will not see a film quite like this one. it just the way when you watch it makes you feel. It just not only is it visually stunning, but you have no clue what's going on, which makes it so incredible. This is the definition of Multiverse of Madness, because this movie is just crazy, and it's on a lower budget, but feels like such a high budget film because of how well this film is made and just how watchable, and there's not quite any film like this. This is why it's at #1. So that's when it takes on the icon and subscribe. I'll see you in the next video.